Good morning, everybody. Warm welcome to the webinar. This is Paul Wagner and Andy Fairburn from Nordic Tourism Collective, together with our colleagues at ETOA. And we're delighted to welcome you this morning on a webinar on the Nordics for 2026. There's a little banner in front of you now, which just tells us it's just 2 months before the Nordic marketplace returns to Copenhagen on the 16th of February. Just 2 months, it comes around so quickly. And we look forward to seeing many of you there. And thanks once again for joining this morning. And we have a fabulous panel to introduce you to today. So if we could just go back to the speakers, Lars, that would be fabulous. Thank you very much. Yeah, we have a fabulous panel to introduce you today. First of all, from Tour Partner Group, Thais Machado. Good morning, Thais.
Good morning.
And from Scandic Hotels, we have Pernilla Skersgaard. Good morning, Pernilla.
Good morning.
And from Finnair, we have Anssi Partanen. Good morning, Anssi.
Hello, good morning.
And finally, from Visit Estonia, in lovely Estonia, we have Agnia Nas. Good morning, Agnia.
Good morning, everyone.
And with my colleague Andy, who's going to take over the reins in a second, because I'm going to share my screen, which is always an enjoyable task. We're going to kick off with giving you an overview of how things look in the Nordics. And I'll start sharing the screen right now. Andy, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Paul, and good morning, everybody. So we did a survey a month or so ago, and we surveyed suppliers and buyers across the region, and we asked them what their views were about the prospects of what 2026 looks like for them. And we'd like to share those results with you now, and we can sort of run through them. So the first question we asked everyone was, in one word, what does 2026 look like for you? And this is a word cloud which was derived from those answers. And as you can see, the most common word was promising. So promising, growth, recovering, steady, good, great, busy, opportunities, positive. And then scattered around as a few sort of cautiously optimistic, interesting, awesome, a bit lower. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, I would say that the overall sentiment is good, is positive, but there's a few sort of niggles in there, and we're going to try and sort of unpick those niggles and really look a little bit deeper into this with our guests this morning. So, Paul, if we go to the next slide.
Which,
yeah. So the second question we asked everyone, what do you expect? And we tried to quantify this a little bit, and we say, what do you expect your business to be like in 2026? And remember, this is a real cross section, so this covers all sectors and pretty much all markets from Greenland right through to Lithuania. What do you expect your business to be like? And again, the most common answer is up to a 10% increase. There's a few people a little bit more optimistic than that. We're looking for over 10%, and a few saying it's about the same. But generally, again, the sentiment is very positive, up to 10%. So I think we all have a reasonably good way of looking at this and actually being positive about our prospects for 2026. And then we asked them, why do you think this is? What's the reason? Why do you give these positive, and we split into three sections. And the first section we have are what we call the optimists. So the optimists have said, given some, and we pulled out a few of the answers here. So in increase in FIT, winter traffic, the Arctic is still growing, a greater awareness of the regions. And this is something I'd like to come back to, and we'll talk about in a bit in terms of the Nordics generally, and the Nordics and the Baltics, I would say generally, in terms of it seems to be a destination which is becoming globally more popular, and maybe we can look at that. More requests coming in earlier for next year. Many new tours and products have been introduced into the market by some of the buyers and operators. The Asian markets are coming back, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that with some of our panelists today. Other markets are expected to be stable or continue to grow. The dreadful coolcation word makes it raises its head again. This is something that we've been talking about for about 4 years. We can discuss whether this is a thing or is not a thing, but it certainly seems to be commonly mentioned throughout either by suppliers and by buyers. More flights, Ansi, we look forward to discussing that with you shortly, but there does seem to be more uplift into the Nordics from many European destinations. And many of the people surveyed actually said that 2025 was their best ever year. So all good, all looking very positive. So that's great. But then on the other side of the coin, of course, we have the pessimists. So the pessimists were saying, well, actually, the Nordics, I'm not quite sure what they mean by the stagnation of popularity, but maybe an increase in prices is the more significant thing we should be thinking about. There are concerns that the prices in the Nordics have gone up substantially, and that's scaring people away, particularly with a lot of economic uncertainty in many countries across Europe and indeed in the USA. So we can also look at that as well. And then obviously, of course, we do have a certain degree of global and economic instability at the moment. So I think that's also something which is tempering the good thoughts or the good intentions for many travelers next year. So we can look at that as well. So, and then in the middle, sitting between the optimists and the pessimists, we have the realists. And these pretty much sum up, I think, what the general feeling is, that there is a steady demand for the Nordics from key European markets, but economic uncertainty and airline capacity may limit stronger growth. So this particular person is forecasting only a moderate increase. Many international markets are recovering. However, the geopolitical situation and instability continue to affect tourism in a negative way. And again, the third comment here, expanding the range of winter activities and summer experiences, but many winter activities have now become too expensive for many of our guests from our traditional customer base. And then I guess there's a little curveball here. We're talking about AI, and this particular survey respondents have said those who are AI ready will enjoy exponential growth. So maybe we can dab a little bit into the world of AI in a bit. But let's finish with the final slide, Paul. Oh, no, it's not the final slide. So, and are there any new developments, projects, or initiatives that could help improve tourism? And the answers are, again, more direct routes as airlines, easy B2B booking tools, integrating AI, increasing in rail travel from the UK and the European markets. That's rail travel is something which we've talked about many times before. And again, continue to push to shoulder seasons and new destinations to avoid overcrowding. I know Agnia, I know you have some comments on shoulder traffic to Estonia, so maybe we can talk about that in a bit. And then the final slide was what looks to be your strongest incoming market for 2026. And again, DACH markets are there as the strongest market, followed by the USA and the United Kingdom. So that's the sort of situation, Paul. Thanks for sharing. The picture looks promising. There are some issues in there which we can perhaps unpick and talk about. But Paul, what do you want to start with some questions? Maybe we can start asking some specific questions to some of our guests this morning.
Sure, let's open up. Thanks very much. And Andy, may I say exactly 10 minutes. So you could be getting it off to a tee there. Yeah, first question I wanted to ask the audience is what sort of how the hotel bookings, Pernilla, for you? Let's start in hotels. How bookings looking for you for 2026? Is there any markets showing levels that we should be concerned about? Or on the other hand, any markets that you're really optimistic about for next year that where they're flooding through? What are your thoughts for and bookings for 26?
Sure. Bookings are looking very positive for 26. We have actually also seen even more markets booking earlier than ever before. So generally and across the board, a very positive outlook for 26. When it comes to markets, there's no doubt that that's very much carried by the Asian markets. Most of the Asian markets are coming back much stronger now. and the outlook is that that will continue also in 26. The European markets remain strong and are expected to remain strong also next year. The only market that I would mention as a little bit of a one we're keeping an eye on would be possibly the US. And I have to say that there's no panic yet, and we're not seeing any cancellations, but we're definitely hearing from a lot of the traditional tour operators and that market that they are beginning to see or have seen a little bit of a slowdown, at least on sales pickup. It has to be said that that market has very much increased in recent years as well. So, but there is a little bit of a slowdown maybe on the US market for obvious reasons, I guess. However, we're not done yet. The big booking window is still open for next summer. So again, no panic yet, but maybe a market that we're keeping a little bit of an eye on.
No, this is going to be from him to you, from me to you type of question, but I'm going to dive in here. When you say Asian markets, can you be a bit more specific?
Sure. I mean, there's no doubt that the big topic is definitely China, India as well. Those are markets that have already this year come back much, much stronger and are expected to come back even stronger next year and in future years. And this is obviously also very much helped by even more airlifts coming this way and into Europe in general. But other markets as well. I mean, but the thing is, Asia, that's a big area. So obviously there are a lot of different things going on out there. There's also a lot of the Asian markets that are in financial situations that maybe does not support massive traffic. But we generally, I would say that the expectation is that the Asian markets will continue to grow. Even Japan, which maybe is the most, shall I say, most conservative market out there, we see that is slowly but steadily coming back too, which has taken a little bit longer than what we had wished for, I guess. Also because of the lack of flights and especially direct flights for obvious reasons. But also a country like I could mention Korea, which actually had quite a dip the first 6 months of this year because of the election out there. But they seem to have managed to pick up on all of that for the remaining 6 months of this year. And that's very typical for that market. So again, expectation is that Korea is going to absolutely increase next year, hopefully now that the election is over. So, yeah.
Excellent. And maybe come to you, Thijs, because being a DMC and working with all markets to the region, are you having similar views to Pernilla or anything you want to pick out that's emerging on your side?
Yeah, well, I think it's very relevant what Pernilla was saying. We also see that type of patterns now in Asia. We are more focused on East and South Asia, but we're focusing on Americas overall. Of course, the US will have also the World Cup next year, which I would anticipate the flights would get significantly expensive during that period, which will be summer, and that can affect traffic, of course. But does that mean, and then maybe Ansi can later on elaborate a bit, does that mean that then prices will be more attractive for other routes instead? Or, to be able to drive more traffic where prices towards the west would be more expensive. But a lot of growth from DACH market, also South Europe, that's also growing a lot. And I think the main thing with South Europe is in some areas of our destination, suppliers are having cancellation terms that might put a bit more difficulty for those markets too, because their selling window is shorter. When we have the long haul markets coming very early and taking a lot of space, and then you have also the short lead markets, and then with tough cancellation conditions, then they find it very like a barrier for growth somehow, right? So then if we want more of the European, because we see maybe US or other markets dropping, then that's also dynamic communication would be important towards the suppliers and us, so we can then activate those short lead markets to fill up.
I think that's a problem that we have in those peak destinations during those peak periods.
Yeah.
That some markets are dominating, and obviously the idea to stretch the seasonality and to stretch the destinations to offer new products is something that maybe get around this. But I think that's been clear in the survey as well, that there really is some competition from early booking markets that are blocking out the short-term booking market. So thanks for showing that one. Ansi, maybe we could come to you to hear a little bit about the general airlift into the Nordic region. How's it looking for 2026? And maybe at the same time, if you could allude to the World Cup piece, because traditionally during World Cup periods, wherever it takes place, there is a dip in traveling generally globally. So what are your thoughts generally with the airlift to the Nordics?
Right, yeah. Maybe just echoing what Pernille said about the sort of booking window getting longer again. We obviously experienced a couple of years ago, 2-3 years ago, this kind of very short booking window. I think that's now turned. And the forward-looking numbers for destinations and so on. I cannot obviously talk about route-specific numbers, unfortunately, a bit boring. But I can echo that next year and how bookings are developing for next year is very much in line with that trend. The World Cup, coming from Finland, we're into ice hockey, so I'm not really that much into football anecdotes. Sorry, and being very much a global player, I don't even recall that Finnair as an airline would experience it that much in that sense, but remains to be seen. And good luck anybody who plays football. One thing which I actually want to mention is the IATA report from earlier this week, prognosis for 2026, which still estimates, I think it was 4.4% increase in passenger numbers globally in air traffic. So that trend will continue. Obviously, that's a global number, so there's very much differences in areas. But if I compare that to what we have said as Finnair just a couple of weeks ago in our global market days, what we are expecting in the next 4-year period is a 4% growth annually, and that's the annual growth rate combining profitability and passengers. So very much in line and very much expecting the growth to continue and growth also to the Nordics and Baltics to continue. Airlifts in general to this or in this region, if I look at it from Finnair point of view, we just 3 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago, announced 12 new routes in Europe, and earlier this year announced the return of Toronto next summer. And that's actually happening with our current fleet. So kudos to my colleagues who in route planning and network planning, we're doing it with our existing capacity, growing the number of seats, and there are plenty of destinations in the Nordics for especially long haul markets. One in Estonia, coming in Kuressaare and Saaremaa, and then 2 new destinations in Norway, one in Sweden. We're going back to Umeå. And so on. So and Japan, I do have to say that it's obviously we're the biggest European airline in Japan. We were that pre-pandemic. We were again the biggest European carrier in Japan this year summer and will be again next summer. There's 30 weekly direct flights from Helsinki to Japan, or from Japan to Helsinki from three different cities. So we in Finland and at Finnair, we do see the return of the Japanese on our flights and in this area. I think Japan, for example, in Helsinki's overnights is up by 50% year on year on the first 9 months of this year. So it's a massive, huge comeback. And but that's that we all know this, but I do want to remind everybody that we cannot talk about Asia as one entity. Asia has, as already mentioned during this webinars, is different kind of market. So you cannot look at Asia as just Asia. It is the markets are different. And one market which nobody has yet mentioned, which I'm going to mention, is Australia. And that we tend to forget. The Aussies are incredible travelers. They're a bit or quite much less price sensitive than Europeans, for example, and always looking for new things. So I would say that that's a market that we should all keep in mind when we plan our actions. Don't forget Australia. US already came up here. I think it's something that we all have our eyes on, and we too. We have grown our network in US after the Russian war of aggression in Ukraine made us cut our flying from Asia a bit. But keep in mind, Asia is still over 1/3 of our business, so it hasn't gone anywhere. But we have added US, and it can be seen in the numbers. Yes, 2025 has been a bit shaky. So let's see what 2026 brings. Again, going to overnights, for example, in Helsinki, I think by far US market is number one in Helsinki at the moment. Germany and UK being number 2 and 3, if I remember correctly. So the significance of the US market, whether it's shaky or not, is quite big to all of us, and we should continue definitely working with that market, and we are continuing to work with that market for sure. I think in this area, and we can see it in the numbers.
Super. Thanks for that, Antti. That's some great deep diving into some of those markets and really interesting points we're picking up there. I'm sure we'll go into them later, but the Australia point is very interesting. They love the Nordics. They think it's cool. They think it's trendy. They think they love the nature there. It's a different nature to what they're used to. And the magic news about the Japanese returning after a good 5 years has been a welcome relief for many across the region. So thanks for those points. And finally on this one, Agnia, can we come to you, maybe give a little bit of a Estonian perspective of how things are looking for 2026?
Yes, of course. If I were to take generalize a little bit, I would say that the bookings look cautiously positive. Especially in the shoulder season. And then, yes, as I already mentioned yesterday at the other event, that we see year to year that the biggest growth is actually in the spring season and in the autumn season. So, which is great, because that's been our goal for many years, to have off season more filled than summer or winter. So I guess we're heading in the right direction. I'm also gonna support the Australian idea, because I just checked really quickly the numbers from January to October. The growth to Estonia was 20%. So that's significant growth. And Japan growth, even though the numbers are still small, it was 40%. So everything that is said here applies in a way to Estonia as well. So for US, we do see a strong momentum, and they're not that price cautious, at least when they come to our region. So we see the biggest growth coming from US next year as well. Then we're probably aiming more to the high-end paying markets. And for us, they are UK, Germany, very steady growth, but also Switzerland. Even though it's not a volume market for us, they do spend a really healthy amount of money when they come and visit here. The markets of concern for us, in a way, are Finland and Sweden. Finland, we are seeing that it's just stabilizing, and our goal is to really keep those numbers, not to let them maybe decrease even more. So we're really strongly oriented on that. There is a budget behind it and good people working towards it. And in terms of Sweden, we see like mixed signals. It probably depends heavily on the household confidence and price perception and overall image, I guess, of Estonia in Sweden. So I think for us, 26 is going to be the year where we will grow by being smarter. So we really have to be smart where we put our marketing money to and what markets we prioritize.
So Agni, you were just Paul, you were just in USTOA. So what was the feeling on the ground at USTOA? That was positive, was it?
It was positive. The interesting trend that they showed there in terms of statistics actually showed a slight increase in group bookings. If all the previous years FIT was mainly the focus, then they actually mentioned that the groups are starting to pick up. So good news for us, I guess. Hopefully the tour operators that have been selling groups to Estonia will also now seriously take us back into their portfolio. That's also the indication that we got. Then we met with the tour operators like Abercrombie and Kent or other big ones, Kensington Tours. Yeah, so in general, it was positive. Of course, there were some speakers there who did a stand-up tragedy sketch on the ongoing situation in US. But in terms of travelers who have income that allows them still to travel, it was on the more optimistic side still.
Good, thank you.
Super. I think, I think every market that we've talked about seems to show some kind of resilience. Despite the challenges which we'll come on to in a minute, it seems things are still in the right direction. We're just going to change up just a quick question about, and people often ask about how important is new product for the region. Obviously, the Nordics has a huge amount of different products available, from Greenland and the wild in the west and to Finland and the Baltics in the east. There's a huge amount of potential nature and city and cool and modern products available. How important do you think that new product and desirable products are for attracting new visitors to the region? And I'm going to ask Thijs on this one first, if that's okay, on a DMC perspective. What are your thoughts on that?
It's I would say it's not anymore a nice to have, it's a must to have, and it's strategically necessary to keep having new products. Otherwise you get the feeling from clients, oh, I've done Scandinavia, or I've done that destination. So unless the destination is renewing with more products, events, things that attract clients to come back, then it loses the interest, or people just see it's a bucket list I've done and there's no reason to come back. I see that can be done through events or through niches like wellness, gastronomy. I think one thing that sells very well, especially for the profile of clients that we handle, which is mid-higher age level, is those soft adventures, right? And innovating on those soft adventures. So they look, they sound very attractive when they are telling their friends when they come back home that they have done that adventure, but it's still soft enough that the age and mobility of people allows them to do that. And I think the important with when creating new products is to always think that it does take 3-4 points that are critical to be able to succeed and loop that in a commercial way, which is you do need to have a good product, an attractive product with good pricing. You do need also to have accessibility. People need to be able to get there in a good way, right? Either with whatever level of transportation, but it's connected through flights and through a hotel or something close by that can accommodate people and they can do that product and that activity. Also, people need to know about the product, so you need the marketing, so both to the clients, but also to us, the DMC, so we can have enough information, quality pictures, and so on, so we can do pass that to the markets, and easy to book. And that means that we need, especially if you're selling to B2B, then you need the prices in good time. That's like a year ahead from the season that you're having, so we can package and be able to sell to the clients. And if more B2C, then also easy to book with connectivity nowadays, right? So platforms and technology connected to that.
Lots of interesting points there, Thijs. But I guess thinking about it, the traditional holidays of Europeans, for example, in Europe has always been to head south, go to the sunshine, get on the beach, and relax. And now with the kind of changes in weather and the changes in people's mind after COVID, people are looking for getting back to nature. There's no doubt about that. And the diverse product potential of the Nordics is amazing for there. And I guess jobs for organizations like yours is very much putting together these desirable products which will attract these maybe travelers that would have gone south to think about a different type of holiday. I think it's really important that the tourist boards, the DMOs, the DMCs, everybody, hotels, everybody involved in tourism in the area is behind this kind of product concept. And I'm going to come to Agnia now, because obviously being a national tourist office, you need to come with plenty of product offerings for your potential customers. How are you going about it at the moment and in 2026 to attract via these new products?
So when I started many years ago working in tourism board, and up until 1st of December, my main job was to meet with tour operators and agents. And the questions that they have been asking me for the past year, maybe 2 years, were so different from the questions before. When before they really wanted inspiration, general feeling, etc. Now every question is, what can I do there? How can I get there? Like, I want to get outside of the capital. So they were really waiting for me to say, okay, for this client, you do 2 nights here, 1 night here, and do this. So yes, they are looking for very clear things to do, where to stay overnight and how to book them. So that's the knowledge that we also bring to the companies in Estonia. We tell them that you have to have everything ready. And if you are a small guest house in the middle of nowhere, then look around you and package everything together so that the customer can come to your guest house, stay longer because he gets to do different things, and price them. So that's the knowledge that we're sharing with the tourism companies. We encourage them to be more specific, more hands-on. And in terms of our website, for example, Visit Estonia is the most popular website, actually. There's like over 5 million visitors on it. We also create a lot of content there, which is clear, 5 things to do, 6 things to do, top things to do, off the radar things to do. So then the people are looking for inspiration. They already kind of envision, in 3 days I can do these and these things in Estonia.
Super, exactly. And I'm gonna just ask briefly Anssi and Pernilla, but Anssi first. Obviously, your job is to get people on the planes and to get them over. But you travel extensively to many markets. Do you get this same sort of feeling that people generally want to know more detail about what they can do, what's different, what type of exciting products there are available in Finland and the greater Nordic region?
Yes, and obviously now, since world has moved to online and with all kinds of tools and so on, I think that kind of information is readily available for everybody. I think that's and DMOs and the visit organizations do a very, very good job in that. But I want to go back to this product and how important it is to have new products, and I want to say from an airline point of view, and not only from Finnair point of view, but also an airline generic airline point of view, that it is very important to come out with new routes and that brings new visitors from new markets, but it also keeps an airline interesting and relevant for the consumers. One thing which I was thinking about in this context is that I, especially from the long haul markets, I think Nordics and Baltics is probably not the travelers' first destination in Europe. So we already have a unique product here. So let's not forget the fact that our product as such has always been unique and interesting. It does need product development, and we do need to come up with new product. But I think we should also keep in mind and be very proud of the fact that our offering is unique to begin with.
100%. And Pernilla, obviously you've got hotels in pretty much every destination in many Nordic countries. What's your kind of approach when you're trying to promote some of your maybe less desired hotels in terms of location, etc., regarding the kind of product side of things?
Well, we obviously work very closely with the DMCs because they're the ones creating the itineraries. But I will voice what Thijs was saying. This really is a must-win battle, because not only do we want to continue to see the interest for our region, and for people to come back again, as Thijs was mentioning, but also we need to be really smart here, because we need to also avoid these highly demanded destinations where we otherwise will be at risk of seeing overcrowded destinations. So I think this really should be the biggest topic for all of us to discuss, and none of us can do it on our own. We're all connected to each other. We need the airlines to be there first and foremost, so that we can get people there. But then we need the expertise of the DMCs and all the great work that they're doing, building these itineraries, and then for the rest of us, whether that's local tourist attractions or hotels, to support it. So I think this is, for this segment to remain sustainable in the long run. This is absolutely the hottest topic. So yeah, it's we have to do that. Also to dip into new segments and extends our seasons and so forth.
Absolutely, I think collaboration, what you pointed out there, is key. We have so many of the programs that come to the Nordics are multi-country, but the ones that are not multi-country, which doesn't involve collaboration between countries, can be between different regions in certain countries. Different types of products, different type of transportation or accommodation or activity providers. It's really a question of collaboration. You mentioned sustainability, and I'm going to pass it over to Andy now regarding sustainability, and maybe bring that to the table as well now, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because you've got, Ansi made a very good point about the fact that the Nordics is... It's interesting how many people who travel to the Nordics are traveling to the Nordics for the first time. And Thijs mentioned bucket lists as a sort of destination, which I thought was interesting. And so just it seems to us, talking to many people, that the Nordics is generally enjoying a rising general in popularity. And it seems to be sort of a groundswell that people are suddenly realizing, actually, this is a place I want to visit. And I think sort of the rising technology is obviously something which, as Ansi alluded to, which means that people are more demanding upon information. They want more stuff. They need to get into the nitty gritty of it. But then I guess for the repeat visitors, you need to be constantly evolving. You need to be constantly changing and shuffling the deck, so to speak. So that's all very interesting. But let's address the elephant in the room, Thijs. Pricing. So. we've got so many comments that it's becoming so expensive to go to the Nordics at the moment. And is that something that you're having pushback on, or what's your views on that?
Yes, a lot. And that's the challenge, and linking a bit of what Pernilla was talking before about finding alternative routes or finding, changing the route. So one, it can be more affordable. So it's almost like we're pushed because of pricing to go outside and to go to other areas or stay in other locations. So that we can still keep it affordable, because right now the comparison clients make, like if I take like an European client, if they say, okay, I'm gonna do a vacation in the Nordics, it's an European destination, I expect my budget to be somewhere around X. Well, with that same money, I can go to Asia or to US and have a same type or even better hotel qualities and or level of service than what I would get for this money. And then they would choose. So we are also competing with that budget versus other types of vacations and destinations, right? Longer haul, where the perceived value is different, right, on the client's mindset. So I think one thing is price, another thing is the price matched with the value that the clients are getting. And if it's not, then there's a challenge and a big pushback. If there is a better value that they are getting, then the sale still goes through, right?
Well, the perception of value, I guess, it depends upon the consumer. So if I'm paying £500,000 for a Rolls Royce, then that's good value if I can afford £500,000 for a Rolls Royce. So Pernilla, I mean, I guess, this is something which is very pertinent to you, your price management, your yields and all the rest of it. So why are prices increasing? Is there costs increasing? Is it excess demand of a supply? What is there a sort of reason why we have these issues? Or is it really is it specific to specific areas, or is it across the board? What do you think?
No, of course. I mean, we've got hotels in four of the Nordic countries, right? And of course, the markets are different, the destinations are different, and the demand is different as well. It's no secret, and I think we've all felt it also privately, that in recent years we have seen the cost of living in general going up dramatically. That is absolutely also relevant for the cost of running hotels. So honestly, we've had no choice but to look at our pricing for sure. But at the same time, I will also say that this is obviously, again, it goes hand in hand with, we do have a lot of, I call them bottleneck destinations in the Nordics. We have a lot of peak destinations where we honestly don't have enough availability, right? You can look at the Lapland areas during winter season. You can look at all the key destinations during summer. We are fully booked, not just us, but the industry. And of course, that pushes up rates as well. But again, back to what I said before, to the other question, this is also why we should be looking at alternative itineraries, pushing secondary destinations where we not only can spread the business, but maybe also the seasons, but absolutely, as Thijs was saying, also help the overall cost of these itineraries. I mean, we've never been a cheap region, let's be honest. Maybe we have, in fact, also always been one of the most expensive regions. So it's nothing new to people. But of course, I think we have to bear it in mind and look at what's happening. And obviously, it depends on source markets as well. Some markets are more resilient, some are more hit by the situation. So obviously, it's not the same across the board, but yeah, it's a topic, and for some markets, maybe we are starting to reach the limit of how much we can push rates. And at the same time, we all have to remain a sustainable business. So of course, it goes hand in hand.
I think it's 3 points there. One is that I know I was in Copenhagen earlier this year, and I was astonished how relatively cheap it was compared to London. So there's always been this mass. We always have this perception that Scandinavia is crazily expensive, and then you go and then you actually, it's not that expensive because the prices in London have gone up so much. And anyway, so that's just one point. And then the other point, I guess, is what going back to Thijs is about it's not the price necessarily, it's the value what you deliver, which makes it. I mean, Finnair, it's an expensive airline, isn't it, Ansi? But you get fantastic value. It's just, it's such a great airline to fly. But Agnia, come to you. So the Baltics.
I need to comment on that, by the way.
Go on, Nancy. I was only joking.
No. What I wanted to say, and Pernilla already mentioned that, and I wanted to say that obviously not all markets are the same, and then we cannot also be selling our product with our own wallet. So there are people who can afford it and do want to pay for it. But yes, obviously there's a cost of living crisis in many of our key markets and so on. I'm not denying that, but and of course now we're talking about leisure tourism, but from an airline point of view, Pernille knows this as well. We do have other segments. We have business travel. And Agnia as well. You see it in Estonian country level figures. Is that we're not purely dependent on leisure travelers, and we have other segments such as business events. Some call it mice, but it's not small animals, so let's call it business events. And which obviously leaves much more. We know that it leaves more money in the destination than the leisure segment. So I think it's also to find the correct kind of balance between the target audiences, and especially, for example, in the business travel segment, world needs travel, economy needs travel, businesses need travel. So there is income coming from that. With different kind of sales actions, maybe a bit easier than in the leisure segment, but just wanted to highlight that.
No, that's fine, Anthony. I'm only joking. I think that it ultimately comes back to Thijs's point about value, and we need to make sure that the value we deliver is top class in every single instance. But Agnew, obviously, coming to you, I know you've got to go fairly quickly soon, but just before you disappear, obviously Estonia was one of the things that we always were promoting and are promoting for Estonia is value for money. And it's a wonderful destination, got fantastic quality hotels and services and restaurants and all of that, and what we describe as an affordable price. Are you seeing pressures on prices in Estonia as well, though?
Yes, some markets are more price sensitive, and these are the markets that I already mentioned at the beginning, for example, Finland and Sweden. And it's the economical situation, so they are really like evaluating where are they going, how many times per year are they going to go, where are they going to stay. US is not that price conscious because we don't have also like many volumes, and for them it's like an exotic add-on, so they are okay with that and they still get the value for money. And Germany, UK, they are value aware, but they're still traveling. So indeed, so are we doing the value communication. And for us, shoulder season is our best value story because summer gets really busy, Pärnu, etc. Islands as well. But I'm really happy that Finnair has this Kuressaare connection because you, Paul and Andy, we've been talking like madman about islands and how amazing it is there, but it's very complicated to get there. But now that the London connection to Kuressaare and probably some US flights will be seamless, I'm really looking forward to seeing the numbers at the end of the summer. Hopefully it's going to be all year round destination. So yes, value, and to support also Ansi's business tourism comment. This is the same for us. So the bigger like effort and bigger emphasis is going to be on the business travel for Estonia as well, because they do live much more money here, and we are working really hard to develop Estonian businesses to be able to do those business events, to provide those incentive trips, itineraries all over Estonia, so we can do all of that. So yes, value, off season, good communication.
and we haven't got anyone on from Norway on this call. We tried to get a few, and we had a Norwegian on board, but they had to cancel at the last minute, so unfortunately. But interesting, Norway had a good year this year. I think largely a lot of that was obviously because it's a fantastic destination, but also because the exchange rate was favourable to many travellers travelling to Norway. So we can't forget that international markets and exchange rates do have a huge effects on the affordability of destinations. Let's talk very quickly then about, I mean, I know we want to sort of, Paul, we haven't got too much long. In terms of looking forward, I mean, Agni, your views on the shoulder season and the increase in business in the off season is really encouraging. Is that something, Pernilla, that you, I mean, we talked about spreading the load and we talked about looking at alternative destinations. Is that a trend you're seeing in terms of people traveling in the what we term the off season? I know it's difficult because the off season in the Arctic is different to the off season in Copenhagen, but do you see a trend to people looking to either for because it's more affordable perhaps, or because there's more interesting products or maybe more interesting services to do, or perhaps because it's say too hot in Spain or Italy? Do you see a trend towards what we would normally call the shoulder seasons?
We are definitely seeing that the season is extended. We are, especially actually post summer, it seems to be business seems to be moving more into the autumn period. So we've definitely seen that the seasons have been extended for sure, which is very welcoming. But again, back to what I said before, I think this is very much also driven by the great initiatives by our local DMCs and the great work that they do together with airlines. That we can continue this journey because we have to, and I think there's a huge potential here. This is where the success of this is really key to how we can continue to grow this segment, all of us together. So yeah, we are seeing a shift. Is it because of the hot weather in Southern Europe? I think that's the big question, right? I mean, I think if you ask some of my colleagues who are handling some of the more sort of heavy FIT operators and that part of the business, I think we have seen an increase, and also for the Southern European markets, which also pushes very much into autumn because that's when their holiday season is. Is that really the reason, or would we have seen these increases anyway? I don't know, but it's definitely a good thing for us and for our region that we are not known to have these massive overcrowded destinations yet, and let's keep it like that. But that we also have a somewhat mild climate. So yeah, I think it very much depends on who you're talking to. I was in the US a few months back, and it was a massive topic for them that it's way too hot in Rome and Madrid now. And they really wanted to come to our region, but again, is it really the final decision-making point? I don't know. But it's definitely not working against us. Let's put it like that.
It's interesting. I was with some travel agents last week, actually in Estonia, and we had chatting over dinner, and she was absolutely 100% adamant that the trend which she has seen in her business is because people are choosing the Nordics over the southern Mediterranean because it is too hot in the summer. And I was as unsure and as skeptical as you are, Pernilla, but actually she was absolutely 100% convinced that was a thing. So I think, Ansi, what's your view on that?
About the shift in from Mediterranean, I mean, yeah, but the numbers in Mediterranean is so huge that if we get a few percent of that, it's already a huge win for us. I don't mind whether it comes from the fact that it's too hot or not. I mean, many of us still go to Mediterranean during summer because it's hot. So who knows? But I do want to also say this development in the shoulder seasons, which Agnia has highlighted, and Pernilla as well, and we in Finland, for example, together with Visit Finland, we've been putting a lot of effort in talking about the Finnish summer, not only because of the climate, but also the balance of Finland is number one during during winter in the Nordics. Norway again is #1 during summer, and we're getting a fraction of that. How do we do that better together in cross border and so on? So I think that's really also the key in our area to work even more cross border, to sort of balance the demand and overnights and arrivals in our area.
I also think it goes hand in hand with what Agni was saying, and I think Thijs was saying about doing stuff. So,
Yes,
you've got to give people reasons to go there. You've got to give people, and then if they can go there and they can cycle and they can walk and they can do this and they can do that, then they will travel off season. If you just, so it's, and to take your point, Nancy, as well, like 10.5 million people a year go from the UK to Spain every summer. So it's all a matter of perspective. But
yeah.
Paul, I'm back to you because we haven't got a lot of time left. Do you want to sort of ask a couple of final questions? I know you've been taking notes.
Yeah, I actually want to get a question from the audience because we've got a question for Thijs actually. It's just a from a UK operator. What are the new up and coming hot destinations, trips to the Nordics for next year? What looks pretty hot? I know you might say that the winter is always hot, but maybe a non-Arctic Lapland wintry one that's really hot and up and coming for next year.
So if it is a winter, I would say go March is a great season and onwards, because that is we see, especially with the snow, like now Tromsø has a lot of snow, and in Finland we are sweating to try to get some snow in there so we can do all the activities. So maybe extending to that part of the year, it's the best and more safe, I would say, snow wise. We see, like we were talking about, the extensions of the summer season. Our books have looked fantastic for September, October, which has been showing that the work has been paying off on extending seasons and developing products on that. We see a lot of interest also of rail travel as well, and packages that is a little bit more less coach, more rail, ferries, and that part, which makes the trip more unique and a different experience. So I think those areas are very good. And like we were saying, there's the bucket list places to go, but there are so many new areas to develop, and sometimes it's just around the corner of one of those main spots, right? And if you go, like for instance, to Norway, every corner you turn is like, wow, right?
Absolutely, and I just wanted to add, because we don't have today anybody from the NATA, from the Iceland, Green and Faroes area. They also have a number of incredible destinations which go very well in the summer, but also incredibly complement on the winter side as well, with Northern Lights and
Absolutely, yeah.
wild and amazing products. So we'll definitely bring Iceland and the NATA region in a little bit more on our next webinar. But I'm afraid, guys, we've run out of time. You guys have been unbelievable panelists, because you just got great chemistry between you, and it's just flowed so quickly. So thank you so much for giving us your insight and expertise in the region. We really appreciate it. This will be recorded. And for those that can come and join us all in Copenhagen in February, it's plenty of time still to register, but get registering before Christmas. And we hope to see many of you in Copenhagen. We're 150 suppliers and 125 buyers already there. So come and join us if you want to know more about the Nordics and want to promote your product to the Nordic audience as well. Andy, time to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you so much.
Well, I can't really add much more to that, Paul. Just thank you to Thijs, to Pernilla, to Anssi, and to Agnia. And thanks to everyone who spent their time to watch. As Paul says, this will be recorded. It'll be on our website. And thank you again, and we'll see you all soon.
Happy Christmas, everyone.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
You.